immune system. The problem with the adoptive immune system is that it requires a cascade of series of events. So that is why it takes like a lot more time as compared to the innate immune system. But that the adoptive immune system will always will always better with the passage of time, with the exposure of the same problem once again. And adoptive immune system is supposed to be different in different people, because it depends on the experience, it depends on the exposure, it depends on how many different types of viruses and bacteria we came across during our lifetime. If you just think more about this information which I am giving you in a different way, you will wonder that means we all are carrying that information, that what type of viruses and bacteria we faced in our lifetime. Somehow that the virus and bacteria were recognized by our adoptive immune system. Somehow that viruses and bacteria were dealt by our adoptive immune system. Somehow we have created the T cells for that pathogen, and we have created the beta cells as well as the antibodies as well as the memory cell for those trouble. And the memory cell stays within our body during our lifetimes. So if I came across like 100,000 different types of viruses and bacteria during my lifetime, that means I should have memory cells of those 100,000 different types of viruses and bacteria in my body. And that is helping me to survive in the upcoming years. I am immune to those viruses and bacteria as well. नहीं, शाबाश. It's another very good question. क्या नाम है तेरा? अरसलान ने एक बहुत प्यारा क्वेश्चन किया है और ये बहुत डेलिकेट क्वेश्चन है about at this time. Here we go. So let me repeat that question. The question was that if we came across a certain virus and bacteria during our lifetime, that virus and bacteria which we came across during our lifetime, we learned about it, we fought against that bacteria, we developed the skills how to fight against that bacteria or virus, full stop. Now next time when that virus came, whether our innate immune system is going to fight against that virus, is the innate immune system fighting at that time, or it will going to be the adoptive immune system which will be fighting against the same virus? The answer is it will going to be the adoptive immune system which will be fighting against that, because the innate immune system have no information about that virus. Like before, the information was installed in the genome and that information is insufficient. So that is why innate immune system is failed. Now the adoptive immune system which is fighting now, it is not fighting in the same way as it fought earlier, because the adoptive immune system do not need to go through all the stages. The adoptive immune system just need to activate the memory cells, just need to sense what that thing is, and after that trigger the appropriate memory cells, and that's all. Not going to take a lot of time. That is why we are supposed to be immune again. Shabash, another question. Oh my God, शाबाश. क्या नाम है आपका? हाँ? रोहन ने इतना प्यारा क्वेश्चन किया है. It's a very good question. ये कैसा होता है कि adoptive, whatever the things we are learning, it going to become the part of our genome. It will take evolutionary period of time. Right? It's not like in generations. Somehow, like the people who are living in Asia, like living in subcontinent, whatever the viruses and bacteria they were facing in the last couple of thousand years, they're somehow different than the viruses and bacteria of the Europe and USA. Okay, different from the Europe and the US. So we are somehow living with a certain combination of viruses for generation. We are fighting these things again and again, again and again, again and again. And because of the environmental factors, somehow we started learning how to make them very quickly. Our epigenetics, our genes started learning that thing, but that learning process required a hell of the time. I mean, it's not like in 1,000 years, it's not going to be in a couple of thousand years, it will going to take a lot more than that time. इसको और interesting example है इसको समझने के लिए. You might remember the very famous person Columbus. Columbus ने अमेरिका दरियाफ्त किया, है ना? Columbus ने अमेरिका दरियाफ्त. He actually landed in the South America at that time, not in the Northern America which we use, जहाँ पर election हो रहा है. They don't. They entered into the South American region. It's somehow near the West Indies. वो जो आप सुनते हैं ना, West Indies. West Indies is not the name of a country. It's not a country. It's just a collection of islands in the name of cricket. Imagine a country is built in the name of cricket. So different countries or islands collected in the name of the cricket, that is the West Indies. Anyway, somehow near that place. So when they came, they arrived with their own things, like their own. The horses were not there in USA at that time, in the mainland USA, in South America, they never saw any horses. So अगर आपने कुछ cartoon movies देखी हो, कुछ tales देखी हो, the horses were like very special for them. Columbus bring the horses for the very first time. So ये भी होते हैं. They never. There are many things which we never knew. आपने कभी old history में tomatoes नहीं सुने होंगे. It was not. Does not came. I think potatoes or tomatoes. One of them belongs to the USA. It comes from there, not from our side. So something like that. So the flora and fauna, I mean the animals and the plants, they are like distinct for that region. So when Columbus came with the people with their own army, a small sort of army, with their own immune system as well. Their immune system is different because they were fighting against different type of viruses and pathogens. The locals, Red Indians, they were like fighting against a different type of viruses and bacteria. They were very fine with those viruses and bacteria which were present in Americas at that time. But they're not ready. They're not ready for the viruses and bacteria which used to stay in the Europe at that time. So when they came, a lot of new type of diseases spread in the Red Indians, and that actually causes a lot of trouble for them. बहुत सारी generations epidemic level के ऊपर उनकी deaths हुई because of the diseases which were brought by these Europeans at that time. And it is not their fault. I mean, they said we are fine. We do not get infected from the virus which we are bringing in, but all these पूरा का पूरा गांव बीमार हो गया, लेकिन हम ठीक हैं. And they were considered as superior at that time because of those things. Yeah, there were some, but but ज़्यादा जो affect हुए वो local Red Indians हुए, because they were उनकी technology scientifically they were not advanced, so they're not very much literate to live in a better way. So the Europeans, they were like quite better at that time. So that is how. We have the interesting story. Somehow you need to know. So let's see what happens when the things proceed in case of innate immune system and adoptive immune system. How things proceed in this case. The first, you should know that when a microbe enters into our body, it tries to penetrate the barriers, the physical barriers. It might be through the lungs, it might be through the mouth, it might be through the digestive system, or maybe through our skin. The most obvious example we used to write in molecular in the textbook and in other way, wherever you will try to study these things, is through skin. So when some microorganism is able to penetrate through the skin into our cells, the members of the immune system at that place, they started interacting with those newer things. These are the members of the immune system which used to stay in the skin. They're called as phagocytes, they're called as dendritic cells, they used to stay in the epithelial cells. They are like rangers. They're like staying in those places, they're moving around in that places. For all these cells, our own epithelial cells are like self. So they are staying comfortably with the epithelial cells. But when a bacteria or a virus invade to the skin because of some injury or something else, these phagocytes as well as the dendritic cells, they started feeling that this is a non-self thing. The first thing they do, they usually try to eat that stuff. They try to eat it up. उसे खाने की कोशिश करते हैं. They try to eat that thing up. So that the second thing they do is that they recruit, they call. जैसे मैंने पहले बताया था, they recruit, they call, they send chemicals and cytokines. Whenever they found something is not self, they started sending the chemicals to the rest of the bloodstream. So the other members of the immune system, the other fighters, one of the most famous fighter is the natural killer cells. The natural killer cells, they rush towards the site and help the phagocytes and the members to kill that newer thing, to kill the bad thing. And also it is secreted by the interleukins. There are a lot of chemicals, small molecules were released, which we will study, which actually help the other immune cells to recognize where to go. Trouble kahan pe hai. So the first thing, the job of the phagocytes, or you can say the job of the dendritic cell, is to capture the bad thing and to call the other members of the immune system to that place. So we don't need to trigger any adoptive immune system. We can kill it by ourselves. Now, when the pathogen entered into our bloodstream or into our bodies, the two activities will proceed. The first is we start eating the bacteria. The dendritic cell will start killing the bacteria. The other thing, the bacteria will try to replicate as well. If the rate of replication of bacteria is faster as compared to the rate we are trying to destroy the virus, what will happen? The number of bacteria will grow at that place. Bacteria की तादाद बढ़ती चली जाएगी at that place. And that is the time when we believe that the natural killer cells we are having, the dendritic cells we are having, the phagocytes we are having, these are not enough to kill that bacteria. Otherwise, we might be able to finish it off very easily. But this is not the time. So the innate immune system, if not able to finish that thing up, that means the things we are having is not enough. So we need to activate our machinery, and that machinery is called as the adoptive immune system. In adoptive immune system, we trigger two types of cells. The first cells are, not the first cells, two types of cells. The one cell is the beta cells, the other ones, they are the T cells. We trigger two types of cells. This is not the T cell, sorry. The red one is the T cell, okay? The red one is the T cell. This is not the T cell. This is, huh? Yeah, so if the number of bacteria and virus is not controlled, because with the help of the things we are having in our body, so what will happen? It will trigger the adoptive immune system. Okay? This is quite a general, still a general thing to understand. In adoptive immune system, there are two ways were triggered at that time. The first way is that in adoptive immune system, the T cell, this is the T cell, and this is a naive T cell. This one is the naive T cell. This is the naive T cell. Remember, a T cell who never came across any trouble. The T cells were moving here and there, like randomly moving into the bloodstream here and there in the same way. Naive T cell. This one is a macrophage. This one is a macrophage, or you can say a dendritic cell. A macrophage, a cell which is capable of eating up the bacteria. A macrophage is a cell which can eat up the bad thing. एक ऐसा सेल जिसने खाया हुआ है, किसको खाया हुआ है? उस bad thing को, उस bacteria को, उसके अंदर उसके टुकड़े मौजूद हैं. It contains the fragments of that non-self stuff. It's like a food critic. जिसने ना सिर्फ खाया है बल्कि उसको sense भी करने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि ये क्या चीज है. So a cell which contains the component of that bacteria. It's a kind of a macrophage. इसको हाँ. So macrophages ये classification भी कर लेंगे तो ज़्यादा आसान हो जाएगा यार. So it's a kind of a macrophage which is capable of eating up the thing. उसने किसको खाया हुआ है, and it contains that information that communicate with the naive T cells. That communicate with the look at that communication. These receptor and ligand binding here, they communicate with each other through this thing. This is a very famous combination, and we have a chapter completely that how these two actually connect with each other and talk with each other. So for today, आज के दिन के लिए, you only need to remember that a macrophage which contains the information about the bad thing is talking, is shaking hands, which is not allowed during the pandemic, is talking to a naive T cell. Usually, a naive T cells touch the macrophage. If the macrophage does not contain anything, the naive T cells move away. It go away to the other place. That is how it senses the thing, something is going on or something is not going on, कुछ हो रहा है या कुछ नहीं हो रहा. But if the macrophage already captured something, if a macrophage already captured something, उसके पास कुछ है, so once the naive T cell touches that macrophage through this receptor combination, certain information is passed on to the naive T cells. Now this naive T cell, this one, the first one, this naive T cell is no longer a naive T cell anymore because it has interacted with the non-self information. Now this naive cells is proliferated, so you can see it increases its number because we need that T cell now because it contains the information about the bad thing. It increases its number and it proliferates and it activates in a different way to kill the things present in the macrophages. So the T cells help and support to kill the bad things. Okay? इतना काफी है अभी के लिए. इतना आसान नहीं है, but the T cells help and support to kill the bad things after that. Alternatively, there is another parallel thing going on. A beta cells can also be activated with the bad thing, with the microbe, with the non-self. A non-self stuff can directly activate the beta cells, or beta cells can indirectly be activated by the T cells. याद रखें ये बात, please. Beta cells can be directly activated by the bad things. You can see a beta cells is directly interacting with the bad thing, with the non-self, with the bacteria. So a beta cell can be directly activated or triggered by the bad thing one way, or other way is that these learned T cells, educated T cells, these educated T cells can also trigger the beta cells as well. You know, the educated T cells, they know the nitty-gritties, they know the good ifs, and they are the senior students, last semester students, they know everything. So they are the ones who have the information about the bad thing, so they can also activate the beta cells. G. So once the naive T cells get that information, it will start proliferating, but this proliferation is different. This cell division is different because this proliferation is triggered or supervised by that information which was given to the naive T cells. Naive T cells को अभी भी पता लगा ये bad चीज है. तो उस bad चीज के लिहाज से about the bad thing, in relation with that new information, the T cells start proliferating and making new T cells. But now these new T cells are educated ones. They are capable of doing a lot of things. Number one, they are capable of killing the problem. Number two, they are capable of triggering the beta cells. Once they trigger the beta cells, what will happen? The beta cells will start proliferating as well. And that produce the antibodies. And these antibodies are good enough to kill the bad things. So that is how they try to complete the immune action in order to finish the bad things out there. मजे की बात है, the immune system or the cycle or the activity of the immune system is not done yet. There's still a lot of things we need to do after that. It's not mentioned here. Like we need to reverse everything. जितने भी हमने extra आलतू फालतू सेल बनाए हैं, once the bacteria is gone, when the virus is gone, जितने भी आलतू फालतू सेल हमने बनाए हैं, all these cells are required to be deleted from our system. So we don't need to harbor all these unwanted things anymore. इतनी एनर्जी लगेगी, बॉडी के resources लगेंगे, we delete all of them. You might, हाँ, अभी just keep that question in your mind, ठीक है? ये बड़ा मजे की बात है कि इसके पास भी कोई ना कोई तरीका होगा कि किसको मारना है, किसको नहीं मारना. You know, अपने फौजी मारी जाए हम बाद में, काम वाले. We just need to remove the cells which are no longer required at that time. ये एक बड़ा अहम concept है. The people who were dead, most of the people who were dead because of the SARS-CoV-2 virus during the first wave of that disease, अक्सर लोग जिनकी डेथ हुई है. You might remember the term, अगर आप साइंस तौर पे पढ़ते रहे हैं शौक से, क्या Cytokine Storm. Doctors use the term that they were dying because of the Cytokine Storm. उन्होंने कहा कि अक्सर लोग इस वजह से जो हमसे संभाले नहीं गए, we failed to handle those people. They died because of the cytokine storm they have developed during that time. The cytokine storm is like that. When your immune system is trying, you know, like fighting or firing more than normal. So if you are like firing a lot to a place, one place, that means you will not going to have enough resources to fire to the other places as well. So cytokine storm ki wajah se what will happen? The cells of the lungs got infected, and it is like that. Lot of things are rushing towards that side, trying to kill that thing in a very faster rate. And due to this cytokine storm, the cells of the inner lining of the air tracts, they receive a lot of, you know, pus, or they receive a lot of water fluid, because the fighting will result in some debris and dead materials as well over there. That will clog the lungs more and more and more. So now we somehow understand all these things. So we actually try to balance the activity of the immune system during that disease now, so that the cytokine storm should not be there. So our immune system should not react like violently against that thing. It should react in a logical way. कि भी कितना चाहिए उतना जो है वो response जो है वो इसके against show करे.